What is good, y'all? I'm welcome back to another live show. I'm your host, Luz Tate. We got a special guest with us. This is Cowboys Beat. Go on ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, I first off want to say thank you, Lou, for having me on your show. I appreciate the kind words that you sent me over direct message. That really meant a lot to me. And I'm excited to get to talk to you, my friend. For anybody on here that isn't familiar with my work, I am Chris from Cowboys Beat. I'm on TikTok, YouTube, Instagram. I'm kind of on X, but the problem is with X, it's very toxic over there.
Yes.
So I try to stay away from X. But yeah, you can find me on all those social media pages, and yeah, I'm ready to talk some Cowboys with you, my friend.
Yeah, I first came across your content on TikTok. A lot of your viewpoints on what the state of the Cowboys I aligned with. I was like, you know what, let me go on and give it a follow. I went down a rabbit hole. And you know what? It led me to, just asking, for an opportunity to be on the show. So I'm very much so thankful. But let's get right into it. We had some news to break yesterday. It wasn't full news, but it was still, enough to stir the pot for us Cowboys fans, right? What is so just give me your standpoint on the holdup between Dak and CD talks, but mainly just CD.
Yeah, so from what I understand, the way that these negotiations are actually taking place and what the public thinks about the negotiations are apparently two different things.
Mhm.
So here's the thing, the Cowboys operate differently from a lot of other teams out there because they don't have a general manager. So if they had a general manager in place and that general manager decided, hey, we're going to carry out these negotiations and we're going to try and get these guys at a better price. But then wait, you actually ended up signing those guys to about $2 or $3 million more because you waited too long to take action here. And I think that's one thing that I don't think enough people are talking about is they're not afraid to lose their jobs. So they think that instead of being proactive and signing these guys early, and making sure that they're not the ones to ultimately pay their guys last in their cycle when it comes to re-signing guys, right? Um, they decide that they're going to do this hard negotiations and they're going to try and, publicly smear guys to try and drive their value down. But if they would have just signed these guys like 6 months to like a year and 6 months earlier, these guys would have been at a much more team friendly price. And that's kind of my problem with these negotiations that they're having with Dak and CD. These are two guys that they went out there and they performed at a very high level this year. They
Right.
could have gotten extended last season or last year. This time last year, they both could have gotten extended. They said, you want to know what? We're good. We're going to bet on ourselves. Both of those guys, one of them was a first team all pro wide receiver, which, here's the thing. When you're a first team all pro wide receiver, there are three wide receivers that make that list. That means that the people who voted on the all pro list thought that he was the top three receiver in football last season. Dak Prescott was a second team all pro quarterback. There are only two all pros at quarterback in the NFL, and Dak was one of them. These guys bet on themselves, and because they bet on themselves, and because the Cowboys didn't want to take initiative uh, with signing these guys last year, they're now going to end up paying more money than they would have originally paid. And that's kind of my thing when it comes to these negotiations. It's always smart to sign your guys early because eventually, if you sign CD before any other wide receiver signed this offseason, then Amon St. Brown gets his contract. Then AJ Brown gets his contract. Then Jalen Waddle, and all these receivers that are high up there when it comes to what they're making. All these guys get their contracts, and they ultimately you look at the price like, hey, we got CD Lamb at $30 million. Now wide receivers are getting paid $34 million. That's really good on us. But the Cowboys don't believe in doing business that way, and it's something that's hurt them. And honestly, when it comes to a team building perspective, I know I'm being long winded here. I
You good.
apologize for that.
Yeah, you good.
Um, when it comes to a team building perspective, the Cowboys, when it comes to drafting, I don't think anybody over the past 10 years can match what the Cowboys have done when it comes to drafting.
I totally
But
agree.
when it comes to the other facets of team building, free agency, trade market,
Yeah.
negotiations, I would say that they're probably in the bottom 5 of all of those 3 categories.
100%. Yep.
It's, and it's a major hamper to the fact that, hey, teams wish that they had this scouting department to where they can go get Deron Bland in the 5th round, turn him into an all-pro. They can get Dak Prescott in the 4th round, turn him into an all-pro. They can go get Jake Ferguson, turn him into a really good tight end. They would love this scouting department, but unfortunately, because of how poorly the Cowboys handle those other aspects of team building, it's definitely a hindrance to what they're doing. So to bring it back to the negotiations, ultimately, I think they're going to pay both of these guys. I think. I'm not as sure as I once was, but I think. And ultimately, they're going to end up paying way more than they would have paid if they would have just bit the bullet a year ago and just signed these guys.
Yeah. So, like, I'm going to take a couple of points from what you were saying. One, Max, HBO Max, I was watching the what is it, Hard Knocks in the off season with our rivals and Joe Shane, their GM, and how it was the little things on how he operates. Like he's on a constant high. Like he's barely eating because his job is like it's I don't know. It's every little mistake every little decision that he makes affects his job for tomorrow, and it in turn affects him. You see him making trades like during the scouting, like after Reese's game, and just night and day, like what you were saying, how the job security at the Cowboys is I believe is the source of the problem. And I know you saw the initial interviews to camp, which I mean, watching that just pissed me off. But they asked that question to Jerry Jones, and they literally ask him. So you talk about all the jobs around the league. Everyone else has a GM. It's you're given 2 years, and then or 2 to 3 years, and you're out. What about you guys? You've been around, and then his answer, it really irked me. It really did. He said, he was like, I don't like all the turnover. Like he really went to so just because I don't think people understand on the outside end, especially the Cowboy haters, even some Cowboy fans, how truly this organization operates and how like everything that's happening ties back in to the toxicity at the top.
And the biggest curse of this organization is that there are aspects within this organization that are extremely competent, and then there are aspects of this organization that are extremely incompetent,
right.
And they get in their own way, which is why, I myself, as a content creator, I'm always on this front office. I make sure that I'm fair when I have to be fair, but I make sure that I hold them accountable because this team is not far away. Like they're really not.
It's not. It's not.
Like, the hard work is done for this team. Like drafting, scouting, developing is the hardest part of team building. And this team does it better than any other team in football. So the hard part is out of the way. Finding a foundation for your football team is out of the way. The problem is the stuff that is like a layup, they do it very poorly. Like, here's the thing. I don't know what your expectations were for free agency. I'll let you answer that after I'm done with this here. But my expectations were just go fill a few holes here. Yes. Go add in some nice depth. Re-sign some of the guys that you let walk. Now, for the most part, some of the guys that they did let walk, I'm fine with letting them walk. Mm-hmm. But I think, where people are a little upset here is that we wanted guys to come in and just be like a Brandon Cooks or a Stephon Gilmore, just a nice addition to your football team, because we understand that with this team's salary cap, that, the high-end players that they're playing right now, they can't afford to go out and sign a Chris Jones or a Justin Matabike or one of those guys. They have to go and sign some of those like lower mid-tier free agents. But guess what? Those lower mid-tier free agents could be a real help to your football team. And not only that, another thing is when it comes to their ability to trade. When they make trades, they do a good job making them. They just don't make them often enough, right? They only make trades when it's like obvious that they're going to win the trade. Like I'll give them credit for the trade that they made in the draft because that was a very smart trade. And they did a very good job maneuvering in that draft and saying, hey, we're going to hold a team up here. And it just so happened that Terrion Arnold was still on the board. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think if Terrion Arnold wasn't on the board and he wasn't as highly touted of a prospect as he was, I don't think the Cowboys get, a third round pick that high.
If we don't get that third round pick, we don't have a great draft either.
I will disagree with that just because I think that there's a lot of rookies showing promise.
Just the combination of the lack of movement in the free agency. I came into the draft knowing that I trusted the Cowboys drafting. I know that we really needed to hit on every pick. And I came into the fact like, hey, if our guy is not here, like our true guy, like here at 24, okay, we need to be, focused on getting as many picks as we can because we need to fill out this roster. So I was more than glad and happy that we got that third. That's what I'm saying. Without the third, because I think we traded the fourth, so I think we only had a third, and then the next pick would have been fifth. And I was doing, all of this scaff drafting. All the meat of this draft was in that second and third and fourth round. It was so much talent in that span because all my guys, like I wanted the DT from Texas, the big guy. He went immediately. T'Vondre Sweat. He went immediately. Yeah. I had a couple of guys. The running back from US. He went after us. I'm proud of the picks we got, but it was so much. If we don't make that trade, that's the difference between us having a okay draft and a great draft, which is like the big jump.
Okay, that's fair. I would say this though. Cowboys played a really dangerous game this year when it came to their team building philosophy, and we'll see if it works out. Granted, like these rookies do have to put on the pads and play here, but from all accounts, what I hear about Guyton and Nealon and Leofau and BB's working on his snaps right now, but people are like, hey, you look at his technique. That's an NFL offensive lineman. A Kalen Carson that they got, which was an absolute steal.
Yes. I'm telling Cowboys fans, you better get you a Kalen Carson jersey because that's the next great Cowboys DB. I don't think people understand.
And not a number 41 too, because you want to know what's going to happen. He's wearing number 41 right now. Soon as that roster cut down happens, they're going to make him wear a more fly number because that is just lacking aura with that damn number. It's a risky team building philosophy, but like I remember back in 2022 when everyone was like, the Cowboys are done, they're finished, they're not going to make the playoffs, and like all hell broke loose for that football team. You lost Tyron Smith before the first week of the season. He was out, didn't take a single rep at left tackle that season in a regular game. You had Dak Prescott go down week 1, out for 5 games. All hell broke loose that season, and this team was still able to win 12 games, which was impressive. But I think part of that had to do with the fact that they crushed their draft that year, and they were getting contributions from guys. Their second and third round picks from that year. Sam Williams was a nice step piece. Yeah. Jalen Colbert didn't really do much, but Ferguson gave you something. Deron Bland gave you something.
That was a very good
Damone Clark was.
Those are all key guys that we have on this roster, like today,
Exactly. So I do want to tie this back into negotiations. Like that's why I'm not worried about paying Dak and CD and all these other guys the type of money that they're going to be looking to get paid, because this team can draft very well. Yeah. So I'm fine with paying them that. It's just I think they're going to pay these guys, but my problem is you hear these beat reporters say, give it time, be patient, this, that, and the third. And I understand that and I get that. But at the same time, I don't want to hear, hey, CeeDee Lamb didn't get a contract done because his agent is in Paris right now at the Olympics. Okay, well, why didn't you get it done like a week before? Why didn't you get it done like a year and a week before he left for the Olympics? That's kind of my problem here. But I do want to get your take. I forget what we were talking about earlier. There was something I wanted to get your take on. It'll come back to me.
But so maybe this can help jog it. You talk about how great, and I do agree. The Cowboys, 10 out of 10 when it comes to drafting. Now, defensive tackle, maybe so, but he's coming around. So, maybe we can shore up that. But it always, don't you, because I know it probably boils like your blood as well. Like you was mentioning how we're so close. The Cowboys just reminds me of a stylist who's very good at his job, but he always wants to shop at, shout out to my granny, like Marshall's, TJ Maxx. When you have the budget to go to somebody like Dillard's and, to go like, Polo, why sell yourself short? Why continue to run into this? You're comfortable in here. You can draft well. And us Cowboys fans, we're not asking you to bring in the entire world in free agency. Honestly, I'm fine with, you should have brought back Jonathan Hankins. If you were tired of Jonathan Hankins, you should have brought in somebody who just one defensive tackle. That's all I was asking for. Or, and maybe a piece or two, like another like guy for this wide receivers. That's I'm not asking for much because I'm not asking much from these guys who are coming in. I'm not asking them to be stars. We have the stars. We have the foundation pieces. Does that irk you that we just continue to, I don't know, not be go like these other organizations?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. No, 100%. It does irk me that they, they're right there, but they don't get over the top because one, the problem is they're full of themselves. That's a big problem with the Dallas Cowboys is that they're full of themselves. And I say that because they think that their young players are better than what they actually are. And I'm fine with investing in young players. I'm fine with that. That's cheap labor. And they do have some really talented young players on this team. But my thing is this, how do you not make a trade for a linebacker last season? How do you not do that? That's incredible to me that they think, oh yeah, we're good with Marquise Bell as a linebacker. It's just not a winning philosophy like that, And one thing I will give them credit for is they made it a point, and I mean they made it a point to go get better at linebacker. I will give them credit for that, and I will give them credit that they realized that they missed Ezekiel Elliott and what he had to bring to the table last season, and they brought him back. But the thing is, they're bringing him back for a much better price than what he was originally getting paid. So it's not all doom and gloom. They did make some smart moves this offseason, but I wonder what the sentiment would be around this team if they would have made the divisional round or even the NFC Championship. I wonder what the sentiment would have been with the moves that they made this offseason.
Would they do more for this team? Because the way they're lining it up, it's looking like it's lame duck season. I really do hate it. I don't even, because you don't understand, Cowboys, you don't understand what's really going on. We have our coaches on contract. Let's talk about how, because I blame the guy that's going as the piece number one of why we lost that Green Bay game. But they were willing to bring him, with open arms.
Back. They were willing to bring him. He was scouting for the team. They were doing draft scouting with him. And one thing I want to add before we move off of Mike McCarthy, I think him being on a lame duck season is the best thing for Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
Because the thing for Mike McCarthy is this. I think he's going to do a really good job this year because there's pressure on him.
Mm-hmm.
And you're starting to see that with the way they're moving in training camp. They're doing more one-on-ones than they've done in previous years. they're actually going and practicing with, another football team, getting good tape there, learning about your football team in the process. I think that this season, with Mike McCarthy under the pressure that the Jones are putting on him, which, by the way, Mike McCarthy should be thankful that they did not fire him.
Yes.
I understand why they kept him. I understand both sides of the argument. I probably favor the side of you probably should have moved on. But, I think that Mike McCarthy is going to do a really damn good job this year. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that he is on a lame duck season.
Right. And I don't think they plan on doing this. It'll be like very Cowboys ironic if we actually make it further than we ever have this year. And, with the lack of help.
Your quarterback and your coach and all that.
Right. So, but tying in on that, that was the gloomy part, what I'm saying, for Cowboys fans. Let's go on to optimism. Tying in on what you just said. This is probably one of the best training camps we have ever had as a team ever. And I'm emphasis on that. We have a ton of young guys coming in, guys coming back from injury. It's just a combination. It's just guys focused in, guys that we wrote off, that we drafted, getting actually developed. Coaches coaching this year. We actually are teaching philosophies this year. But why should Cowboys fans be optimistic this season, even with everything going on?
They should be optimistic because they're returning an all-pro quarterback. They're returning an all-pro wide receiver. They're returning an all-pro defensive end. They're returning an all-pro cornerback. I think they have the most all-pros in the league returning to their team this upcoming season. I believe 8 all-pros is the number. And that's not even including like solid players that weren't all-pros. And that includes guys like Jake Ferguson, DeMarcus Lawrence, Oso Digizua. You look at the safeties, those are solid players as well. And you talked about it with the philosophy. I think that there's real reason for optimism because Mike Zimmer on that defensive side of the ball, it's not going to be like it was with Dan Quinn.
Yes.
They're going to play fundamentally sound football. And I think that's something that the Cowboys need. This is a team that's been one of the most penalized teams in the league the past few seasons.
Yes.
And it's on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive, or offense and defense when it comes to the penalties, and I feel like one thing that was lacking of this defense was discipline. And that just doesn't come in the form of penalties either. That comes in the form of, hey, are you staying in your assignment if you're in the secondary? Are you filling your gaps against the run as a linebacker? Are you keeping contain on the edge as a defensive end? Those are things that go along with discipline. It's not just, hey, don't jump off sides. It's more than that. And I feel like, that's something that this team was sorely lacking under Dan Quinn because his philosophy was, hey, go 110 miles an hour, get after the quarterback, cornerbacks, make sure to jump routes and try and get interceptions. And that's how we're going to play defense. It was a very risky business model there. And when you look at some of these teams that flat out exposed them defensively, yes. that was part of the problem. Like this defense, they might have ranked high up there in defensive categories, but overall, this defense was like overrated.
Yes.
It was one of the worst defenses in the league in the last 7 weeks of the season. So, I think with Mike Zimmer and the talent he has, you'll see a much better year from this defense.
Yes. Right on the head. I just think Dan Quinn, his philosophy just in this defense last season lacked substance. And as a football like student of the game, the things that they were doing were just so out of character from an X's and O's standpoint. I don't know if I was I think I was watching with your live with Okoye. I don't know if he mentioned this on how it was reports that the D line can stunt whenever they wanted to.
Yes, that's correct.
And I'm just watching the game. We're facing a clear dual threat quarterback or a clear playmaking quarterback that can, if you get, undisciplined in the lane, that we're asking our DBs to now cover longer than what's expected, right? And that's, on top of the discipline, it was just a recipe for disaster. I hated that how we lost. Every loss we had last year when the defense got exposed, we lost the exact same way. It was the exact archetype of a running back. They just lined up, ran the ball down our throat. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was they literally did not get fancy with it, and you saw them break down our defense. It was known to everyone across the world that we love, when you pass. That's we the offense got to a point last year we was putting on points, and that their opposing offense should have played in catch up, and we can just pin our ears back and attack the quarterback. The thing is, great teams in the playoffs are going to make you earn that right.
Correct.
You got to earn the passing down. You got to earn the passing situations. And the fact that Dan Quinn, because I was banging in my head on the door, okay, like, switch it up. Don't have Micah like lined up on the edge all the time. I love Micah to death, but he can't. He's only a 240, 250. He cannot defend a run against a solid tackle in this league for 72 reps in a game. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, you're right. You're right, 100%. And that's why, like when that whole story came out about, Micah Parsons and a defensive coordinator in the NFL saying that he's average in big games, I try to tell people this. He's not wrong when he says that, but I feel like there's a lack of context. When you're in the playoffs, you're usually playing good offensive coordinators. Good offensive coordinators look at this defense and say, hey, we're going to run the football all day on this defense.
It's a copycat league. Football is a copycat league.
Yep. And when you ask Micah Parsons on the edge to play run defense, he's an average run defender. Yeah. So when he's playing against the run for a majority of the game, because that's the opposing team's game plan, that's where you get him being an average player in the playoffs, because he's being the offense is forcing him to do something that he's average at.
Right. And like some of my favorite podcasters, like they, whenever they mention Micah, they think like he should be the, linebacker converted to like Khalil Mack type. Like he should be. No, I think Micah's best ability is his versatility and his unpredictability. And this is honestly, I ain't gonna lie, this is why I'm so excited for this season, especially this defense, because what I'm seeing from Mike Zimmer, he is finally playing chess with all these offensive coordinators. Whenever you move Micah Parsons around, you force opposing offenses to think. More time to think is like just more time for us to eventually get to the more I have the opposing team thinking, if it goes in my favor. And on top of that, he's disguising coverages. It's going to be a great rest. It's going to be, I can't wait for this game this Sunday to see that with just the third stringer, like what he's finna get ready to do. Because the fact is, like, I just felt like Dan Quinn got lazy. He got very lazy last year.
Well, I want to get your take on this. If the Cowboys would have forced quarterbacks to hold on to the football an extra second longer, like Mike Zimmer is going to make these quarterbacks do, how many more sacks does Micah Parsons get? That's my question to you. I think it's somewhere within 15 to 20, like not more. I'm talking about just in total.
Right.
He got 14 last year. He probably gets around 15 to 20 sacks in total if quarterbacks held on to the ball for a second longer.
Hurry. And that's what, like
force him to do.
Pressures, like hurries, like QB. I don't even like the sacks. Okay, I just know with the talented secondary we had, it's just been recipes for 3 and outs. That's all that, But I digress because, like, I'm done with Dan Quinn. We're moving on, but
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, but it is fair to bring up though with Mike Zimmer how effective I think Micah Parsons is going to be. Like I think Micah Parsons is going to be the best defensive player in football this upcoming season.
I think he's going to be MVP.
You think so? I
think he can be defensive because the
defensive player of the year for sure.
Not that's what I meant. Defensive
MVP. That's a bold one. I like that.
Yeah. That's bold. Yeah. I mean defensive player of the year.
For sure.
Yeah. because he's doing more than just moving them around. He's creating matchups, right? He's going to be creating. He's going to be not only creating matchups for Micah. He's going to be isolating these other guys. For once in our life, we're going to be able to have maintaining pass lanes, controlling the pocket. We're facing too many good dual threat quarterbacks this upcoming year. I'm interested to see how can we rattle a quarterback because that psychologically is going to play a part, into the rest of the game, how it goes.
Yeah, no, 100% for sure. I had a great point that I just completely forgot about. it was somewhere in there. And
is it the scheme, like how he's isolating, like how he's moving?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yep. So here's the thing. On the offensive line, you cannot move your left tackle to right tackle. Technically, you can, but it's not realistic that an offensive coordinator is going to do that. You can move Micah Parsons from playing a wide 9 to like a 2I to over the center. You can do those things, and you can create matchups with their worst offensive linemen.
Right.
And I'm talking like that, not towards you, but like to the defensive coaches, like Dan Quinn, who we talked about. Like, you can do these things. You can say, hey, their right guard is terrible. We're going to line up Micah Parsons over him all game. Like, hey, their center stinks.
Right.
Trust me, a center does not want to deal with Micah Parsons. With the center, you're snapping, and automatically you're at a disadvantage compared to your other offensive linemen because you're snapping and then you're setting to where, okay, boom, snap. Oh, I'm about to set. Oh, wait, Micah Parsons now has my snap hand, and now he's got his hands on my chest, and now he's shedding me, and he's going towards my quarterback.
Even better, let's get more into X's and O's. There's only so many protections in the league, right? This is like, I gotta teach you something. Whenever the opposing team do like a 3 to 5 step drop, usually the offensive line is in a half 50 protection, which means half of the old line is in zone, the other half is in man. They usually base this off of where's the mic and where's the strength of the defense is. What I love about this is that now, because usually, they have calls whenever if the center and the guard is covered, they may go into like man on man, but they can. Mike Zimmer can like show and keep them to like a zone to the left side, and I don't know, he may even like loop Micah in late, and somebody's already engaged, and now like Micah's head up 1v1 like on a one-on-one with just a regular guard. I take him versus one of the best guards one-on-one because that's all we were trying to create.
Any guard,
any guard, or best case scenario when they're doubling Micah. Now we got some of these young guys like Marshawn Nealon is really. I wasn't completely wrong. I thought he was going to be a hell of a run defender, but he's really showing me something on his passing down. DeMarcus Lawrence.
Will McClay was the wrong one on that too. Will McClay admitted that. He's like, the stuff he's doing at training camp, we didn't see that at Western Michigan.
Like the zone pressures he's going to better bring out of the delay blitzes from Micah. He's going to be able to. It's going to be like those offensive coordinators going to be up all night this season.
Oh yeah, well, and not only that, I would say a guy like Oso Digizua is a guy who I think Mike Zimmer is going to have a lot of fun with because he's the guy you can line him up. Granted, he's not going to be like that good at certain spots. Like if you line him up as a zero technique, obviously they wouldn't be doing that in this defense. But like if you line him up as a nose, like he would be an okay nose. You line him up as a 3 technique, he's a really damn good 3 technique. But you can line him up on the edge.
Right.
You can do that. He can play in multiple defenses. He can play in a 3-4 or 4-3. And that's what's really interesting to me because you saw some stuff like Dan Quinn at the beginning of last season did some very fun stuff.
Yes.
Like he had Micah Parsons, draw 2 offensive linemen to him, and you saw what's his name? Osa. you saw Osa stunt in and go get a sack on Daniel Jones.
Right, because
Like,
yeah.
Osa's very interesting. I think he's a very underrated player.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of the reason why Osa Odigizua isn't considered one of the best defensive tackles in football is because of the amount of work that's been put on his plate.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are not many defensive tackles in football that are asked to do as much as Osa is asked to do.
Right.
Like, Osa Odigizua, very underrated run defender.
Mm-hmm.
Like, very underrated run defender. Pass rusher, I think he's a good pass rusher
He's a
too.
very good passer. He's a knifer. He's a slicer. He can give you. He's a great finesse D lineman. Get you a move, get on the hip, and he's pretty much there. He has but the only thing is why he's not considered. Some of the best they can also stop the run. They can also, like, when it's time to anchor in and fill a gap, they can do that. And there's some nuances to it, but I do agree with you. And he tends to run out of gas towards the end of the season.
Yes.
That's his big. That's his big. Yeah.
And I think it's because of the lack of talent he's played around when it comes to, like, hey, like, we can't take you off the field because your backup is not good. Like, you at 50% is better than your backup at 100%. And right. Which is why, I think the Cowboys got to get aggressive here and probably go add a 1 technique and add a backup 3 technique because, man, I got wood in front of me and I'm just going to knock on it. But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't believe that I'm not a superstitious person. If Osa Odigizua gets injured, they're screwed.
That's very much. This is football. Like, injuries can happen even at practice, even on a drill. As you can see, you're 100% right. The depth of this team should be. I mean, that's my biggest. That position group is my biggest, like, worry. This entire
biggest worry. Because if they go address that, there's no weaknesses on this defense. There's no weaknesses on this linebacker room. I'm telling people right now.
Talk to me. Tell these people about this linebacking room. I know this. We were pissed at the linebackers versus Green Bay. I understand it, but I'm trying to tell y'all. Look up these clips tell them about these linebackers, man.
Hey, look, these linebackers are not guilty for that game outside of Damone Clark. But even still, I do give Damone Clark a little bit of a pass.
Yes.
Because he was asked to play Mike linebacker, and the guy he's not in the NFL. He's not a Mike linebacker.
He's a Will or Sam.
Yeah, exactly. And like, when it comes to these linebackers, one thing that I like is it's a very young unit, but they do also have a very good veteran to rely upon with Eric Kendricks. And not only that, Micah Parsons is going to be playing more at linebacker now too. So you have a Kendricks, a Parsons playing more at linebacker. Overshown's going to be a star. I truly believe that. I think out of anybody in this room, out of all those young guys, DeMarvion Overshown is going. I think he's Dre Greenlaw. I really do. I think they have Dre Greenlaw in that linebacker room. Maybe not right off the bat, but maybe give it a year or two. But
the mindset. I'm a Longhorn fan since long. I've been seeing him since. He has a motor. He is trying, and like he's not a big guy, and he's not like a small guy either. But he's looking to go and knock your head off. Like, and I love that.
And let me get your take on this. What do you like? You see these linebackers that they've drafted over the past 2 seasons with Leafau from Notre Dame and then Overshown. Both of these guys have experience playing safeties in high school. Maybe it would have been in college. I know Maris played kind of all around at Notre Dame, but these guys have experience playing safety, but they just grew into linebacker bodies. Is that something that you look at and say, hey, I probably want that in a linebacker, because safeties are a little more comfortable in coverage than a linebacker. But when you have a former safety who understands coverage assignments on top of a guy who's filled into a linebacker's body, I think that there's some real upside for both of those guys.
Yes, like the reason why that's a huge plus for D coordinators, because when those opposing offenses come out in like 3-4 wide receiver sets, they're trying to get you into that nickel dime look. If you can keep that base look as long as you can, you're more respected to defend the run, because these guys are strong enough to go in there and defend the run, and they can also hold their own when they're isolated, just enough on these guys that usually are matchup problems. So yeah, I mean, this just adds more packages within more arsenal for Mike Zimmer. So you give a genius like that as much as you can. Yes, that's endless.
Yeah, and when you think about it, right, Maris Liufau, he's like he's physical
Yes,
and he's
yes,
strong.
he's bigger
And
than we thought.
like Maris Liufau, I'm not saying he's going to be as good as this guy. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you look at their body types,
I know he's finna say.
his body type is similar to Fred Warner's. I'm not
Yes,
saying he's going to be
yes,
Fred Warner.
I
I'm
knew
not
it.
saying he's going to be Fred Warner.
I
But
would say the same thing. Yes.
you can line guys up side by side and say that person looks like that person. That person may not play like this person, but they have the same body structure. And Fred Warner, to me, that body structure is exactly what I like to see out of a linebacker.
Yes.
I like longer, lankier, but
Still stocky enough. Yeah.
Type of linebackers. Like that's where the league's going to here.
Mm-hmm.
The league isn't going towards guys, that are big and bulky.
That's the 2000s. The
exactly.
90s. That's the old like a build of a linebacker. Now you're gonna need to be a little bit leaner now because the opposing offenses are just getting is faster and more freakish, athletically. So yes, that is definitely yes.
So I want to get your take on this. When you look at the positions on this team, and this is going to segue into something we wanted to talk about. But it's funny, we had topics and we just started talking about other stuff, and it makes for great content. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so with this Rams Cowboys game, one thing that I'm thinking about going into this game is how many roster spots are actually available on this team? Because I look and the offensive line's pretty much set. Maybe there's some bottom of the roster guys that don't make this team. I think the running back situation is set. I think you're probably looking at Zeke and Dowdle and either Freeman or Deuce on top of Lipke being a fullback. The tight end room, I think, is kind of set. There's still some room for competition. There's still some room for competition at wide receiver. Quarterback, maybe the depth chart will be arranged with Lance and Rush, but we know who's making the team there. Cornerbacks, who's making the team. Safeties, who's making the team. Linebackers, who's making the team. Defensive linemen, that's going to be something to look for. But my question to you is how many positions do you actually think are something that we have to watch in terms of, hey, this person might make the team or not?
Well, obviously, running back is definitely the forefront for me. I'm really paying attention to that because it's not as secure as you think. I mean, some certain guys are like Zeke. I would say I need Rico to have a healthy year. Deuce, and I really hate to say this, Deuce, he's going to have to string together some performances. Not even just this game. And I know it was a great story. His dad called him when he got drafted, but when I looked at this is a combination of the running backs and the special teams. I don't know where he fits on his team if McCarthy can't use him to his ability, which is getting him out in space, being my dreams for him to be like a Darren Sproles type, but
for sure.
Running in between the tackles is very important to be a running back on his team. Also, cornerback, all of those Dan Quinn guys, we just seen one get shipped out of here because these rookies are coming in. They are for real. Kalen Carson. I watched the film immediately when he got drafted. All his film was pretty much goal line. I was like, man, this guy's physical. He's gonna love the short yardage situations. The only question was, how is he gonna do in the foot race? Long distances. So, and that's my only question for him going into these preseason games. Can you handle every single type of archetype? Because right now, I can already see you can handle the Deron Bland's weakness, which is those bigger, stockier, more athletic guys, which was the DK Metcalf. Can you hang in the foot race with DK Metcalf? That's my only thing. And then defensive tackle, because like even like there's a possibility only two guys making, and we do just get guys off the wire, you know.
And one thing I will say, one player that I'm looking out for, I didn't really think of him much this training camp just because he hasn't been around. But I'll say this: when I'm going to build up to this one here. When you look at this guy's body structure, when you look at his length, when you look at his height, when you look at his explosiveness, you can see, yeah, that looks like an elite NFL receiver. That, like, if you're going to build an elite NFL receiver, that's the prototype you want.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about Ryan Flournoy. Like Ryan Flournoy, I can see why they spent the pick that they used on him, because you see him out there on the field. I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like one of those elite guys out there when it comes to the just body structure, purely body structure. Like, yeah, that looks like a prototypical wide receiver there. And you see him making plays, high pointing the ball, using his vertical. You see some of the things that he's doing out there and some of the clips that, have surfaced on social media. And you say, yeah, that looks like one of those really good guys in the league. Right. That looks like, DK Metcalf type. I want that type of receiver. So to me, it's imperative for Flournoy to have a good preseason game here, because if he has a really good preseason game, then he's back on track. Because I know he missed time at training camp, but if he has a good preseason game, that's all out of the window because, hey, he's back on track. We saw that this kid can play.
Yeah, that's the only thing with him. I just need him to get reps. That's all. I need him to stay healthy, get reps, because you're right, we're missing that vertical threat, high point the ball, especially with Michael Gallup gone, even when he was here. We just need that type in our game for our offense, because if we can have a guy that could be it's a dream. We can have a guy that can be respected over the top. I mean, that can open up so much more, because like we have this West Coast style, this intermediate to short. That's our game. So we just need to keep the opposing defense is just honest at bay. Hey, you never know. Maybe a guy comes out the box get a little lighter for this young and upcoming O-line, front seven. Maybe it helps the run game, But yeah, I'm paying attention to, because I'm excited for this O-line. I very much. I'm former O-lineman myself. I am so excited. Tyler Guyton pick. He wasn't one of my guys, but I knew he was the Cowboys type, because the Cowboys love those raw and athletic, with frame. They know they see a guy who has the physicals. They can, like, what, I can teach him, and that goes to show you that the seed, the soil that is being planted is just as important. That's what never doubt a Cowboys first round pick when it comes to the offensive lineman. Never doubt it. Never doubt it. And my other guy, my favorite pick, Cooper Beebe, with the snap issues. I've only seen a couple of them, so I'm not going to believe him until I've seen in the full, up close and personal, when he got a one tech in his face, breathing down his neck, swiping at the ball, talking to him, once he gets this processing down, I believe this is that's our center for the future. He's going to be great
for sure,
because he has the power. He has the build. When you look in an interior offensive lineman, you look at Cooper Beebe. That man, he's built like a refrigerator. He has the frame. His film is him stopping other NFL caliber guys. I'm a Texas Longhorn fan. Every time we played Kansas State, I was wondering, we had the best D lineman pair in the country. Why can we get pressure, on Kansas State? Why can we, stop the run? It's because they had Big 50 in the middle, and he's handling guys 6'4", 350. He's handling guys like that, like no matter. So yeah, I'm excited for him.
Yeah, and I always say, like, hey, who are some of the best guys in the league at that position? Does he look like one of those type of guys? And Cooper Beebe definitely looks like one of those type of guys.
Yeah,
I mean, he does. There's a lot of special in his game. His physicality is special. When he puts his hands on you, it's kind of like Tyler Smith in a way. It's not to that extent, but when he gets his hands on you, he plans on moving you. Like he's a violent football player, but he's also smart too.
Yes.
This guy, to me, He was probably an early. Me personally, I had a second round grade on him.
Oh no, you're 100% correct because
Well,
everyone kept. I remember like everyone was like, why is BB falling? Why is BB falling? Like he was one of those. They thought he was gonna go like at the end of the first round, like like.
Yeah. Oh no, for sure. And the thing is with snapping. I mean, granted, I never played offensive line, but from what I know from centers that I played with was that like snapping the ball, it takes you a little bit, but once that little bit is out of the way, it's like second nature.
It's just that's all everyone's worried about it. It just gets better with time. More reps. Yep.
Look, props to Brock Hoffman. He's, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Brock Hoffman and what he's doing. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, business is business, and Cooper Beebe looks like one of those top guys. Like he looks like he could be one of those top guys, and I don't know if Brock Hoffman has that in him. I've been hearing really good things about him at camp. I get it, and all respect in the world to Brock Hoffman. And if we didn't have Cooper Beebe,
he would be the starter.
Let's roll with Brock Hoffman. But we have Cooper Beebe, and I kind of just say like, hey, I don't know. I think that guy might be better.
Nah, you see, Cowboys Beat is being nice. I'm gonna keep it a beat because I love offensive line. This is my bread and butter. I'm sorry, Brock Hoffman. I have seen Tyler Biotics for too many years. Too many years. I understand it. I love the guys who love, move up to the next level and get hands on the linebacker, but they're not getting movement. I value movement. We don't have a signature back anymore, so we can't rely on just the guy, to make up for all effort. The work needs to be done for this run game has to be done up front. I'm trying to make holes as big as the Red Sea, and in order to do that, I need to get a guy who's going to draw like so much respect on how he's going to move everyone. Like Brock Hoffman, I don't know how you're going to do versus a Jalen Carter. I don't know how you're going to do versus a Chris Jones. Like when you may do well versus, the okay guys, but what about like the guys
who Lawrence?
I'm terrified if we play the Buccaneers because Vita Vea, are you even moving him at all? Like.
But you look at Cooper Beebe and you say, well, I like my chances there.
I like my chances.
I like my chances. Here's the thing. I tell people this all the time when it comes to the game of football. That's great that you can get out to the second level and do, your center can snap and then pull and do all this cute stuff. You want to know what's reliable? When you have interior offensive linemen that can be across from other interior defensive linemen and say, hey, you're not going to stay there. You're going backwards. Whether you like it or not, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And the Cowboys have those guys on the interior next to the center.
And that's why I'm so passionate about getting some, because he has an all-pro right here on the right of him and an all-pro to the left of him. The double teams are finna be magical this season. The Cowboys fans. I'm
going to be honest with you. I'm going to say a take right here. I think Tyler Smith's going to be an all-time great guard. Oh. I really believe that. I mean, the kid's 23 years old. He's 23. Understand? And he's not like 23 going on 24. No, he's going to be 23 for the entire season. And this dude at the age of 22 was manhandling some of the best defensive linemen in the entire league. I think this dude's going to be an all-time great. I really believe that. And you're going to see that this year. He's going to be the best left guard in football this year. No doubt in my mind about that. He's going to be the best left guard in football.
Yes.
And, that's kind of my thing when it comes to Brock Hoffman is that, and I'm really trying to be nice because I just have so much respect for the guy. Cooper Beebe and Tyler Smith double teams, combo blocks, Zach Martin double team combo block, all that.
They're uprooting the biggest tree in the Amazon rainforest. That's what they're going to be doing with all those double teams.
And here's the thing. I don't think they have the best interior offensive line in football. I think that's the Chiefs with Thuney,
Um,
Humphrey, and Smith.
mhm.
Uh, but the Cowboys aren't far behind, and they're a good center away from being the best interior offensive line in football. Can Cooper Beebe be that for them this season? I mean, I think he can be. Like when you see him in his reps, you look at that and you say, Brock Hoffman, you're doing some good things, but you're not doing that.
You're-
You
and
ain't
it's
doing
okay.
that.
And it's okay. Like it's 100%.
Yeah, yeah. He's he is a good NFL backup center.
Yes.
He'd probably be an average to below average NFL starter.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think Cooper Beebe can be like a top 7 center in football, if not higher. And I don't think Brock Hoffman has that ceiling. Hopefully, I'm wrong. Hopefully, this is a Terrence Steele situation from a few years ago where Philbin was big on Terrence Steele, and I was just kind of like, hey, I'm not seeing this. I'm not seeing this at all. But
Undrafted as well. Yep.
Terrence Steele put in the work and became a legitimate offensive lineman in the league. I hope that's the case with Brock Hoffman, but I don't know if that's going to be the case.
Yeah. I mean, you hit it right on the head. I'm so excited. Thank you. If you're new to the stream, man, I put Cowboys Beats his page in the description. Make sure to like and subscribe. For more content like this. This is great. This is great content right here. I know I'm deep in the conversation. I'm forgetting to even mention that. But yeah, I mean, just keep it on the offensive line just for a minute. Let's talk about the main guy just for a second, because how excited are you for Tyler Guyton? We just came from probably I was going to ask you this question, but Tyron Smith was probably my favorite Cowboy for the longest.
It's a good choice. It's a good choice.
So, and honestly, I'm gonna be honest. We should have moved off Tyron Smith a long time ago, maybe about like 2 or 3 years ago. That's when I heard it from another Cowboys creator. He was right. We should have, because we could have got more, resources, and he was just breaking down with his age. I just hated last year that he couldn't even practice in pads. Like we should have got rid of him, a while back. And I really hate it, because he's. I hated to see your hero on ground zero. But talk about Tyler Guyton. What are you seeing?
When I look at offensive linemen that are considered developmental prospects, I'm looking at their feet. How is your footwork? And if your footwork's good, I can work with that. If it's not, I can't work with that. And I think at the bare minimum with Tyler Guyton day one, he's going to be able to stay in front of people. Mm-hmm. It's just about whether, hey, you're going up against a power rusher. Can you anchor against that power rusher? And if he can do that and improve on his run blocking, hand placement is a thing as well. From the reps that I saw against him and Micah, and this is actually a compliment to him, and kind of a criticism of his, is that he probably needs to do a better job getting off the ball. Mm-hmm. But even still, his feet are so good.
He's so athletic. He can catch right back up.
Even when he's late off the ball, he's still able to get hands on you and get in front of you. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, though. Like when you look at this division as a whole, who we're going to be playing, it's a lot of speed rushers. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Tyler Guyton will have any problem at all with speed rushers. Mm-hmm. Like Brian Burns, Bryce Huff, those type of guys, they're not going to give him problems. Right. The guys that are going to give him problems are like the Cam Jordan types, or the Max Crosby types. I mean, granted, those guys give everybody problems.
Maybe even a little bit of Myles Garrett, because he has a limp.
Oh yeah, for sure. Oh, for sure.
Because he has the limp and that speed, the power, and like his quickness. That but like I when everyone was afraid that he can convert to right to left tackle, I already knew immediately, because I'm a Texas Longhorn fan. He was Oklahoma Sooner. His quarterback was left-handed, so he was the right tackle. The right tackle is the blind side. And he's a converted tight end. So this guy, the fact that he can move position from another position to a right, from tight end to right tackle, the guy has the athleticism to go from right tackle to left tackle, and it's all about foot speed. And to top all of that, I gotta commend him, because, man, the man skipped out on his vacation as soon as he got the check. As soon as he heard his name called, he called up Duke Manyweather, and he got immediately to work here in Dallas.
Went right to work.
Went right to work. He knew and worked on them hands. Worked on probably he got more. I saw him. He got the more nuances and like the SWAT down. He's gonna wait till he get those in his bag, everyone. Because what's really scary about him, people don't think you think he may not going to be able to handle the power rushes, but he has the frame to absorb it. Right?
For sure.
He's like 6'4", like he's very much north of like 300 and is solid. Like he can absorb a lot of those speed rushers and then he can anchor in. So yeah, like I'm very much excited for for that. But yeah, I mean,
and real quick, I want to say this. I'm happy that you credited him because there's a lot of people that just go straight to Duke Manyweather.
Yeah.
And all the respect in the world to Duke Manyweather. Tremendous offensive line coach. Tremendous. Duke Manyweather would tell you himself, that's Tyler Guyton. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to the draft process, when it comes to football, you have to believe in the person before you believe in the player. And it seems like the Cowboys front office fell in love with the person of Tyler Guyton. And because they fell in love with the person, they looked at the traits that he possessed and they said, hey, he seems like a hard worker. He seems like a great guy. He seems competitive as hell. And we think because of that, he's going to turn into a great player because not only does he have the tangibles, but he also has the intangibles to go along with, taking the assortment of tangibles that he has and turning it into, one whole thing and becoming a really, really damn good left tackle in the NFL.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, because I just knows like what it takes, and like you going back with the intention with the Cowboys. So I mean, it's a night and day from our first round pick from last year to this year. Shout out to Mozzie. He's very much developing, but it didn't come off as well when he said, "Do you like football?" He's like, "No, I don't like football. I just like to hit people." Like that perspective versus what Tyler Guyton, who pretty much he not only like he liked football, he loves football. He's passionate about it, and he's grateful every step because the steps that he went, to immediately go and like he's not comfortable where he's at. That's he's comfortable with being uncomfortable, and that's probably his greatest trait. And you can see that is contagious to every part, like in his game. So that type of person is going to want to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like for sure. No, absolutely. Yeah, no, 100%. I think they hit that one out of the park. And the fact that they were able to trade back from 24 to 29 and go get an offensive lineman, another offensive line on top of that. You took your 24th pick and turned it into your center of the future, hopefully, and your left tackle of the future, hopefully.
Yeah.
Great use of draft capital right there. And again, like I'm not afraid. I know it's fun to take a bunch of shots at the front office and they bring it upon themselves. They really do. But at the same time, I make sure to remain consistent when it comes to praising them in areas that I feel like they deserve to be praised for.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is the last thing we're going to probably cover. So game this preseason, the first game coming up this Sunday. You saw the practices, the merge practices. So, like, what are one thing that you're very much excited to see, this upcoming Sunday?
Ooh, I am going to only pick one thing, even though there's a lot of things that I'm excited about. I'll say I'm excited to see Marshawn Nealon. I'm excited to see Marshawn Nealon. I want to know if the hype's real with this guy. Because I liked his Western Michigan tape. I think he did a really good job playing against the run, setting the edge, collapsing when he needed to. And those are important things. I think a lot of people look at run defense and just look at it as, hey, they're not getting 10 plus sacks a year like DeMarcus Lawrence now. DeMarcus Lawrence is still a tremendous player. He just doesn't get the sack production that he once got. But I think that kind of blinds people from realizing, like, This dude wins you games with the way he plays against the run.
Yes.
Literally won you a game against
Yes.
Seattle because of that. Won you a game, I think, was that Detroit?
Yes. I mean, anytime it's 4th and goal, like,
He's money. He's money, right?
anytime he's crossing face and he's gonna win.
Yeah, exactly. You know, DeMarcus Lawrence. Yeah, if he's DeMarcus Lawrence, that's a W. That's a W of a pick. But I'm excited to see how he is as a pass rusher. Is this burst? Is this bend that we're hearing that he now has at training camp? Is it a real thing? And it's going to be interesting to see that because he's a guy that's going to need to step up for this team. And I hope he's good. I really do.
Yes. I mean, I pretty much hit on everything. I'm excited to see. Um, there's so many things. I'm excited to see what is Trey Lance. I know we didn't. That's the mainstream question, but he's been up and down in these practices. I want to see that athleticism on display. What I'm looking to see, I'm gonna be honest with you. I want to see that. I want to see this playmaking aspect. I don't want to see too many. I don't want to see 80% of your like pluses, pluses and minuses when they grade the game. Your pluses be out of structure plays. I need you to be able to operate within structure for a good amount, and then on top of that, be able to escape the pocket, use your legs, create coverage buzz in that. So because honestly, I want this to hit so bad, because the QB2 is probably the people unvalue that, but that's that's probably the most important roster spot on the entire team, whether people like it or not.
For sure. And this is what I will say. I've been critical of Trey Lance, more so the front office and them going and getting Trey Lance. I've been a little more critical about that because look, my thing is one of my coaches once told me, if you stink, you stink. I can't criticize you. Like you're just not good enough. He didn't say that to me in particular, but he was talking about, getting on certain people. He's like, I'm only getting on you because I see something in you. But that's besides the point. That's the thing with Trey Lance. Like, if you're not good, you're just not good.
Right.
And I can't criticize you for not being good if that's what you are. We'll see with Trey Lance. We'll see because I'm in the same boat as you. I want to see him win from the pocket. I know he can extend plays.
Right.
I know he can be out of structure and make something happen. Can you remain in that pocket, have good pocket presence, be able to go through your reads, not panic in the pocket when there's pressure or there's a blitz coming your way? Remain poised in the pocket, operate the offense. That's all I want to see from him. I want to see if he can operate the offense.
Right.
That if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm saying operate the offense. Don't worry about making a bunch of plays out of structure. Just operate the offense. Because Cooper Rush, at the bare minimum, can operate the offense. I don't think it's very pretty when
but
he does something right now that Trey Lance has not proven the ability to do. And that's my thing if I'm Mike McCarthy. Like, hey, just show us you can do that.
Yeah. Yep. Like you hitting it right on the head. This is all we're wanting to see. But look, what up, man? What's good? What's good? And then he says he's depressed. The Houston Texans will probably get further in the playoffs than us. Hey, I'm not. I got some friends who are Houston Texans fans. All I'm gonna say, I got to see it this year.
Further than us last year, and
I mean,
we're still around. We're still around.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Right. It's all good. But look, thank you again for coming on. This was an amazing show. If you're still here, make sure to like and subscribe. Go on and check out Cowboys Beat. All his I put his YouTube in his in the description. Go on and check it out. He got like over 2 million likes on TikTok. You probably seen him before on the feed on the For You page. He's hitting every topic. Like I said, if you've seen in this show, we are pretty much aligned on a lot of things. This was a great conversation. But look, if you're interested to see more content from me like this, continue to show love, man. But thank you again for coming on the show. Any last words?
No, all good. I just want to say thank you for having me on. And make sure to go, check out all the social media pages. And make sure to like and subscribe here. Go help out Lou's content here. And yeah, this was definitely a fun conversation. We'll have to link up again.
Thank you. Hey man, well, until